If you're wondering how to buy SpaceX stock now before the IPO at an 80% discount, here's what you need to know. There is one stock set to explode before SpaceX goes public. What's going on? I'm Sam. There's a facility in Washington, D.C., exactly 1 mile from the White House. This location is where an acquaintance attended a private closed-door dinner meeting alongside the world's richest man, Elon Musk. And what Elon revealed to him in this meeting, it blew my mind. Could soon change everything you know about making money. Now, as you can imagine, this meeting, of course, was never reported on by the press. In fact, only a small number of insiders were able to attend, including, I'm grateful, an acquaintance and one of their closest contacts. And what this contact discovered from this meeting, again, it left me blown away because during the meeting, Elon discussed his plans for a $1 trillion technological revolution, one that could send shockwaves throughout all of Wall Street. And it all has to do with Elon's greatest innovation ever called Starlink, which I'm predicting could go public in a historic IPO as soon as Thursday, March 26th, 2026. And in this short video, I'm going to give you the name and the ticker symbol for free of a play that allows you to get in on Starlink before its upcoming IPO. And that's a huge deal. After all, with an estimated value of more than $100 billion, Elon's upcoming Starlink IPO is set to be the biggest single IPO in history. And just to put things in perspective for you, a company like Amazon went public in 1997 at a value of just $438 million. So things have definitely changed. $438 million back then, $100 billion potentially today for Elon's Starlink. That means Elon's Starlink IPO could be more than 228 times bigger than Amazon's IPO. Could also be 55 times bigger than Apple's IPO, 128 times bigger than Microsoft's IPO, and 177 times bigger than Nvidia's IPO, just to name a few of these what are now multi-trillion-dollar companies. In other words, the amount of wealth that stands to be created is nothing short of extraordinary. But here's why I bring all this up. Look, there's no doubt about it. By far, the single greatest wealth creation opportunity happens by investing early in a company before it goes public. You might have heard the stories of people like the billionaire Peter Thiel, whose investment firm manager I met. Thiel was the first outside investor in Facebook all the way back in 2004. He purchased 10% of the company for $500,000. That put the company's total value at just $5 million. But by the time of the Facebook IPO in 2012, his 10% stake was worth more than $10.4 billion. That's an extraordinary 2,000x return in just under 8 years. And as a top investor myself, I can tell you this is a perfect example of the gains that are possible with pre-IPO investments. In fact, I've personally seen people make gains like 60 times your money on one pre-IPO investment in just 5 years. This has actually been one of the primary sources of money and wealth creation for many investors over the past 20 years. And when you compare those kinds of returns that are possible from investing in publicly traded companies, it's not even close. But as great as that is, there is a big problem with all this that I really want people to listen to. As you can imagine, pre-IPO opportunities like this are almost always off limits to mainstream Americans like you. Instead, these deals are typically reserved exclusively for the wealthy and well-connected insiders who have access to them. I don't think that's fair. So that means if you're like most people, you've been completely locked out of the pre-IPO market until now. And by the time a company finally goes public on the stock market and you could invest for the first time ever, the biggest profits are already long gone. The public markets are like the last resource for a company to raise money. That's when all the venture capitalists, all the private investors who've put money in for years, that's when they sell to you. So just so you know, that dynamic I don't feel is fair. In fact, as Inc. magazine reports, by the time a company goes public, 95% of all profits have already been made. That means you've been left with the table scraps, with just 5% of the total upside remaining. So if you've been investing for a while and haven't seen the results you were hoping for, or even worse, if you've lost money on your investments, it's not your fault. You simply haven't gotten a stake in these pre-IPO companies where real life-changing returns can be found. But that rigged game ends today. Over the next few minutes, I'll show you how to get a pre-IPO stake in Starlink, which is expected to be the single biggest IPO in history. And thanks to what you're about to see, you can do it before Starlink goes public, starting with as little as $100. The best part is it has nothing to do with any private off-limits market, which means there's absolutely no requirements to what I'm about to reveal. All you need is the name and ticker symbol that I'm going to reveal to you in this video today, completely free of charge. Of course, this is not financial advice, but there's no credit card, there's no email sign up needed to get that ticker. But with Starlink's IPO expected to be announced in 2026, your window of opportunity is obviously quickly closing. And that's why I really wanted to get this video out to people. I've dropped everything to rush you the details on this pre-IPO opportunity and how to position yourself. Because look, even if the IPO happens in March of 2026, Elon could announce this Starlink IPO to the world. And then at your point, at that point, your chance of getting the biggest gains might be gone forever. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Before I go any further, let me back up and show you why Starlink is a true game changer and why it's expected to go down as the single biggest IPO in history. In short, Elon's just rolled out a radical new breakthrough in how the world uses and receives internet access. Again, we use internet access for everything. Imagine when the Wi-Fi goes down in your house. You're in big trouble until it's fixed. In fact, due to this new technology, due to Starlink, major companies that you almost certainly do business with could be poised to fall into obsolescence or even bankruptcy. Companies like Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile, and more all could soon go completely gone. And after the next few minutes, I'm going to prove all that to you. I'll share important details about Starlink's technology. I'll prove to you why Starlink is poised to change everything about our way of life, from how we shop to how we travel to how we conduct business, down to a personal level too, changing how we interact with our friends and family. And I'll just tell you a brief anecdote. So a few weeks ago, a friend's Wi-Fi went out. He called, one of the companies, like mentioned above. He called one of those phone companies and said, what happened to my Wi-Fi? And they said, oh, we don't know. We already have reports of this outage though, and you'll have to be sitting there the whole time, waiting to figure it out. Well, a friend got sick of it. The neighbors got sick of it, and they got Starlink, and I saw it myself. They installed it within less than 24 hours. They had internet access again. Well, the internet provider who was supposed to provide the service was still trying to figure out the problem. So that's important to me. And as a leading investor, I'll also show you an inside track to how you can invest in this technology, how you can invest pre-IPO in Starlink. So in this short video, you're going to discover the name and ticker symbol for free that allows you to get a stake before Starlink goes public, where a small pre-IPO investment, as little as just $100, could give you a shot at an enormous windfall. After all, we're talking about a potential IPO that could be 228 times bigger than Amazon. So with that said, let me show you what I mean. This is nothing to sneeze at. History shows that situations like this are when investors have the rare shot at getting extraordinarily rich. Anytime the stakes are this high, when trillions of dollars hang in the balance, when technologies like Starlink can pioneer a whole new future, while at the same time sending other technologies, even whole companies, into an early grave, investors who truly recognize what's happening and seriously take action have the chance to amass incredible wealth. See, each time a situation like this happens, enormous amounts of money are lost by those who don't see what's happening as old technologies become obsolete. And more importantly for you, massive amounts of money are made by those who see what's coming ahead of time. And mark my words, what's coming next is a radical new internet powered directly by Elon Musk. And it all has to do with his new Starlink technology, which is sweeping the globe. Like literally, it's satellites surrounding the entire globe. And I predict this is set to go public in early 2026, a technology that beams lightning fast speeds down to you directly from space and makes all their forms of internet obsolete. So what type of gains do I predict you can expect to see? Well, let's take a look first at what the introduction of the internet did for early investors. After AOL introduced internet access via dial-up, for example, their stock soared a rare, massive 81,844% in about 7 years. People barely even knew what the internet was then, and yet that stock went up over 81,000%. Just think about that. Turns a $1,000 stake into $800,000, or a 10,000 stake into more than 10 million, 8 million. It was the same thing with the company Earthlink when they helped usher in the age of DSL. I don't know if you remember DSL. It was a good thing. It meant no more clogging up your phone line to access the internet. Their stock shot over 6,638% over the next 3 years. Again, let's talk about Comcast, as cable internet came to replace DSL throughout the country, revolutionizing the internet Once again, Comcast investors were rewarded with an eye-popping 46,222% gains between 1980 and 2017. And of course, these are rare. These are extraordinary examples that require near perfect time. I'm not saying you're going to make 10 million. I'm not even saying you're going to make 8 million, but these are real examples and they demonstrate the extreme life-changing profit potential when you get into the right stock at the right time. That's all you need to do. You just need to do it once, twice, maybe 3 times, and you're good. And as you just heard, the same situation has played out over and over again throughout history. Whenever the internet takes a huge leap forward, untold amounts of wealth are made over time by people who see it coming, which is why I am sending you this urgent message today. Excuse me. Because as I heard through the grapevine via this contact who had attended this private meeting, Starlink stands to be the biggest and most radical internet breakthrough ever. And according to my research, I expect Elon's preparing to take Starlink public in 2026 in what Fortune reports will be the single biggest IPO in history. And in just a moment, I'm going to reveal to you the 3 smoking guns, what I consider proof that Elon is quietly laying the groundwork for the upcoming Starlink IPO. And then I will reveal for free the name and ticker symbol of the play that gives you a pre-IPO stake in Starlink before it goes public. I really want my whole goal over the past 10 years of both professionally investing and writing about investments and technology and other things. My whole goal is to level the playing field. There's no reason why people in Wall Street make all the money and people in Silicon Valley make all the money and everybody in the middle just gets the scraps. I want to give investors the chance to profit early before everyone else on what's set to be the biggest IPO ever. And more on that in just a second. But first, before we go any further, let me just back up quickly and introduce myself to you. My name, as I mentioned, is Sam Putnam. I've been recognized by the stocks community that I run and by others as a top investor, technologist, Ivy League insider, some would say. I had little known opportunities like I'm telling you about. They've been my bread and butter, finding and analyzing these over these years. And over the past few decades, I've been able to gain firsthand experience learning about early stage IPO plays, learning from people who worked at hedge funds. So let me give you some example. There was a company called Ticketfly, which went up 37 times between 2009 and 2015. You might have heard of Gary Vaynerchuk's company, VaynerMedia, Gary V. Do you know where VaynerMedia started? It started in the conference room of a company called Buddy Media, where investors made 60 times their money betting on that pre-IPO stock between 2007 and 2012. So that's just to name a few. Now, I don't want to say this to say that everything goes up that much, but just to prove a point. So as I told you earlier, by the time a company goes public on the stock market, the biggest profits have already been made by insiders. And that's why I'm so excited about this next opportunity with a red hot IPO market. And for reasons that I'm going to show you, I'm all but certain a certain Starlink IPO is on the immediate horizon in 2026. What's more, like you saw, Starlink's IPO is primed to be the biggest IPO ever. And for the first time ever, you have the chance to invest early and get a pre-IPO stake in the company before it goes public. All you need is the name and ticker symbol of the play that I will reveal right here today in just a few moments. First, before I do that, let me show you precisely why Starlink could be so big. You've heard of Wi-Fi. It's what connects your devices, your computer, tablet, phone to the internet. Simply put, Wi-Fi is the backbone of the internet. Without it, the internet would not be possible. Well, through Starlink, Elon Musk has designed a radical change to Wi-Fi and to the internet itself. So what is Starlink? It involves the technology Elon discussed at this meeting where I had, through the grapevine, this man on the inside. In short, Starlink's the future of the internet. That's why it's so exciting to me. For the first time ever, the company has cut out all traditional wireless networks and internet providers. And instead, it beams fast, reliable, unlimited internet from satellites in space down to your devices. Think about all the technologies that end up having the most value. It's the technologies that do away with the middlemen. And that's exactly what Starlink does. For the first time ever, there's not cables and wires and devices and routers and all these things that are in between you and the internet. This is internet being beamed directly down from satellites in space. That means no more unsightly cell towers will be required around your neighborhood or anything like that. Once signed up, you'll simply receive lightning fast internet sent to you from high-tech satellites in space at all times. That's why Bloomberg calls this new technology internet delivered from the heavens. Whether you're in Manhattan or in a remote rural cabin, you'll always have the chance to be connected to blazing speeds. And because of that, Starlink could be the world's fastest and most reliable internet. It could also become the cheapest, delivering these speeds at just a fraction of the price you pay now. And for these reasons, Starlink is entirely reinventing the old internet as we know it. Starlink began with a simple question. What if Elon could eliminate the need for any kind of cell tower at all, and instead beam internet from space straight through the air to anywhere in the world, no matter how remote it is? It would be faster and better than the internet you receive now. And it could be vastly cheaper as well due to not having any widespread construction costs. After all, there'd be no need to dig up neighborhoods, install cables, build cell towers, all of which can cost hundreds of billions of dollars. And that means Starlink can provide lightning fast speeds anywhere in the world at a fraction of the cost, making it a no-brainer for everyone. And it's amazing, you would truly be able to deliver internet to the entire world. And Elon's plan has already played out. As you may know, Starlink has already launched a constellation of more than 6,750 highly advanced satellites that beam uninterrupted high-speed internet from space down to you, your phone, your computer, your tablet, or any other device. That's because Starlink's thousands of satellites now wrap around the entire planet, forming a network to reach and deliver lightning's fast internet to every inch of the world. From Wall Streeters to Manhattan, New York City to vacationers in Paris, France, to workers of the most remote farms in New Zealand, to the poorest African villages. In fact, Starlink now reaches more than 6 million customers. Some of my best friends are proudly Starlink customers as of a few months ago. It's a number that's growing by a staggering 50% year over year, and that kind of growth should not surprise you. After all, it doesn't take a genius to figure out that having cheaper, faster, total coverage service could make the trillion-dollar telecom industry pretty much wet its pants. But even better, get rid of those unsightly towers and transmitters popping up in your neighborhood. No need to wait a week for some repairman to fix a down Wi-Fi. Again, it's just beaming down to you all the time, 24 hours a day. So for consumers like you and me, Starlink, I could say, is a godsend. For the 2.18 trillion telecom industry, it's actually their worst nightmare. And odds are, if you're like me, you do business with companies like AT&T or Verizon, T-Mobile, or others to receive internet and phone service. And odds are, again, you've had a negative experience, not to mention the price. So did you know that here in America, you're paying more than any other country for internet service that also ranks among the slowest in the world? This is just ridiculous. Let's just compare it with Venezuela. 8 out of 10 people in the country don't even have enough money for food. And yet their mobile internet speeds are twice as fast as ours. Are you kidding me? The average American today could pay nearly $200 a month for their service that's among the worst in the world. Just compare that with South Korea, where people pay only $20 per month for speeds 5 times faster than ours. News even came out recently that here in America, Comcast, guess what? They're raising the cost of their service at 4 times the rate of inflation. Does that seem fair to you? Of course not. And that's not even the worst of it. Take Verizon, for example. News came out in 2018 that during one of the worst California wildfires in years, firefighters who rely on internet service to track and stop fires, they experienced significantly slowed service as Verizon cut their speeds to 1/200th of what they previously were. Verizon then forced these firefighters who were working hard to save lives to pay twice as much to resume normal service. That's the gist of the story. I'm just telling that's what it sounded like. And it sounds criminal. So Elon's innovation, is making this a thing of the past. And I fully expect Starlink could help make these companies obsolete in the coming months and years as it begins to dominate market share. After all, why would you, I, or anyone else pay as much as $200 per month when over time Elon could begin to provide far better, far faster, unlimited internet service everywhere in the world at a fraction of the cost? It's the biggest no-brainer option ever. In fact, it's already happening. Elon's Starlink has already been rolled out to millions of people worldwide. The satellites, they're already in orbit. His plan's been successfully pulled off, and Starlink is already rolled out and disrupting everything. It's being used on cruise ships, planes throughout the world. It's being used in war zones, natural disasters, when all other access to internet service has been cut off. It's even being used in more than 2.6 million households, according to Elon, a number that I expect will soon skyrocket as the adoption of this tech accelerates. In fact, in the long run, I expect this could begin to be used by all 330 million Americans and all 7.8 billion people worldwide. And by acting on the name and ticker symbol that I'm about to give you, you have the chance to position yourself before Starlink's IPO takes place. And that's not all. You see, Starlink is much more than just a new type of Wi-Fi. I predict it's also set to launch one of the biggest and transformative economic disruptions of the decade. That's because, as it stands, more than 5.2 billion people worldwide use the internet, and these 5.2 billion people conduct trillions of dollars worth of transactions on the internet per year. They buy books, they buy clothes, electronic devices, and just about everything else online. But there's an even bigger side to this story that most people aren't paying attention to. There are 2.9 billion people globally who do not have any access to the internet whatsoever. And by connecting those people, many of whom live in remote rural areas, can help unlock trillions of dollars in further economic value, which is exactly what Starlink is doing right now. After all, because Starlink's internet comes to you from satellites that wrap the entire Earth, it can reach anywhere in the world, no matter how remote it may be. And that's why we're talking about untold amounts of wealth on the line here, an opportunity that I believe could be just as big or bigger as AOL, Earthlink, or Comcast. And here's the kicker. Expect Elon's gearing up to announce his plans to take this company public in the single biggest IPO in history, a historic IPO that's going to change everything. And how could I be so certain about that? As I mentioned to you earlier, it all has to do with the 3 smoking guns that I've discovered. And I believe this is proof that Elon is quietly laying the groundwork to announce an imminent IPO. Once you see this, I am confident you'll understand exactly why the situation is so urgent and why I've dropped everything to rush you this live video today. I want people to benefit from this news, and as I show you the proof that I've gathered, you can decide for yourself if you want to ride along and potentially get rich as Elon shocks the world yet again, or if you think, I'm just full of hot air and empty promises and just ranting on a Monday. It's your choice to make, of course, and I hope this sounds fair, so let's get right into it. Smoking gun Exhibit A. Elon tweet confirms a Starlink IPO is imminent. Check X. First, during my research, I came across a little-known statement from Elon himself. Although it received little fanfare all the way back in 2021, he did post this on what was then Twitter. He said the following: once we can predict cash flow reasonably well, Starlink will IPO. That's a pretty straightforward statement, and as you can see, Elon planned to take Starlink public as soon as the company's cash flow was predictable. That was the only roadblock that's been holding the IPO back. That's what he said in the tweet. Well, just recently, Elon announced the following news. Excited to announce that Starlink has achieved break-even cash flow. That's what he posted on X. In other words, the company has now officially crossed that milestone with that X post, and that's a big deal. And as I see that as a clear signal that an IPO could be coming soon. And think about what this means, by the way. He has to put 6,000 satellites in space. That involves building the satellites, building the rockets, launching them into space. So for that to be break-even cash flow and everything, all the infrastructure is already in space. So those expenses are done. That's an amazing statement for him to make. But that's not all. Smoking gun Exhibit B. Why Elon needs to take Starlink public in 2026. There's want and then there's need. And while Elon is the world's richest man with a net worth of $400 billion, almost all of that money is invested in his various companies. In other words, he doesn't just have a bank account with tens of billions or hundreds of billions, maybe even billions of dollars sitting in it ready to spend whatever, to make whatever these matters worse. Some of his companies, like X, aren't profitable at all. As a result, whenever Elon's forced to raise cash, he has to pull it from one of his companies, whatever they may be, particularly since it's his only publicly traded company. He takes money out of course, Tesla, and sells Tesla shares in order to fund the other companies. And as Barron's reported back in 2023, when Elon needs money, his only option is to sell Tesla stock. That was the case recently when Elon was forced to sell $23 billion in Tesla shares to keep X afloat. one of the reasons the stock tumbled more than 50% during that period. And again, it's not like Elon Musk needs to spend $400 billion to buy some houses and buy some cars. He uses that money, he uses significant amounts of his own personal money to fund these incredible companies like Tesla or SpaceX or Starlink. All this gives Elon another big reason to do a Starlink IPO. So by taking a second company public, he'd be able to sell shares and free up billions of dollars in cash. He'd also be able to eliminate the pressure on Tesla shares, which is why, according to Barron's, what Musk really needs is another publicly traded company that would allow him to unlock some of his wealth and take the pressure off of Tesla. And we just saw what happened with XAI. And with Starlink already estimated to be worth $100 billion plus, and with Elon controlling more than 42% of the company, making a stake worth over $42 billion, it's a no-brainer for Elon to take Starlink public as soon as possible following this XAI news. In fact, time is of the essence because in its mission to make XAI compete with ChatGPT, Elon poured billions of dollars into XAI with plans to invest many billions more in order to do that. Again, he could always continue to sell off Tesla's stock, causing the share price to collapse. Or even better, he can take Starlink public in 2026 like he predicted he would do all the way back in 2021. To me, the choice is obvious, and I'm still not finished yet. I saved the best for last here. Smoking gun Exhibit C. Bloomberg drops bombshell regarding the 2026 Starlink IPO. So this is what they said. As you may know, Starlink's just one subsidiary of a parent company called SpaceX. So do that. Elon's plan is to take Starlink public without taking the entire SpaceX company public. And to do so, he plans to separate Starlink from SpaceX in a process called a spinoff, which would form two separate companies. Well, rumors have been spreading, and Barron's is onto this, that's exactly what's happening. So take a look at this 2023 report from Bloomberg, and you can pull it up very easily. SpaceX is discussing an IPO for its fast-growing Starlink internet business. And people with knowledge of the matter said that you got to get ready. SpaceX has been moving the satellite unit's assets to a wholly owned subsidiary that would ultimately be spun off in this IPO. So in other words, the company, is or was already making moves behind the scenes to prepare for the IPO. And that brings me to what I'm predicting is about to take place once Elon announces Starlink's 2026 IPO. Early investors, of course, stand to a massive fortune. This is why getting this video out was so important to me, because there's still time. But as I've mentioned, I'm so convinced this IPO is going to be announced earlier rather than later. I really wanted to not just write this down and email it to a bunch of people, but really get this message across in a lot of ways, particularly this video, particularly with the whole SpaceX XAI news that came out last week. And I'm urging people to take action immediately and set yourself up before this all happens, because as I've shown you here today, this could present the rare opportunity to really strike it, RICH. And again, it's not about getting money to buy the latest car or a bigger house or whatever. This is about finding the ways to increase your financial freedom, your financial health, the financial freedom for your family, for your children. This is really important, and it's not fair to me when I see just either Wall Street or Silicon Valley, the extreme, east side of the country and the extreme west side of the country. Why should they be the only ones to benefit and not the 300 million people in the middle? And if there's one thing I've learned about this business, it's that chances like this really do only come around once in a lifetime. And when they do, 99% of people do nothing. They don't make any dollars at all. They simply sit on the sideline and get left behind. And why should they do something? I mean, they've got other things going. Everybody's got something going on in their lives. Not everybody keeps in touch with the daily movements of all these opportunities. And, sometimes the index is the only thing you should buy. But when the opportunity becomes just right to strike for the small 1% of investors who see what's coming and take action, they're disciplined, their life can quickly change forever. I mean, after all, as you've seen, every time the internet undergoes a radical transformation like this, investors who see what's coming have the chance to create extraordinary wealth. And you don't have to risk a lot. I mean, you start with $100. So just look at some of the top performing examples I showed you earlier. In just 7 years, we saw AOL score 81,000%, enough to turn every $500 invested into $49,000. So that was just 500. We also watched, Earthlink skyrocket 6,000% in 3 years. That's the $500 into $30,000 in profits. And over the long run, in the past several decades, Comcast has done even better. Shares of Comcast catapulted 46,000%. It's remarkable. turns an investment of $500 into 200,000 plus. So what if you just doubled that starting stake to 1,000? And investors would be sitting on nearly $500,000 in profits from Comcast. So if I regret everything, when I was a tiny little kid, I could have begged my dad or my mom to take a job at Comcast, but they didn't do it. Now, of course, these rare, extraordinary gains are among the biggest gains we could find in internet history, and they involve perfect timing. And while these companies took off and skyrocketed, there were, of course, more that failed and went to zero. So we all know that all investing carries risk, and they could have gotten a job at a startup that didn't even go public. So you never want to invest more than you can afford to lose. And of course, nobody has a crystal ball, so it could be difficult to pinpoint these exact moves in real time. However, this growth really did happen. So that's important to remember. And here's where things get really exciting. For reasons you saw, I believe Elon's Starlink could be even bigger than AOL's introduction of the internet via dial-up, or Earthlink's DSL or Comcast cable internet. In fact, I think Starlink may be bigger than all three combined. And what's more, by connecting billions of previously unconnected people, Elon's Starlink could hold the hidden key to unlocking trillions of dollars in additional economic value. And because of that, I fully expect this will go down as the single biggest IPO in history. And even better, thanks to the ticker symbol of the stock that I'm about to tell you, you'll have the first ever chance to get a pre-IPO stake before Starlink goes public. But before I get into that, let me fully introduce myself to you and explain why I'm eager to share this information and why I like getting on trends early. So my name, as I mentioned earlier, is Sam Putnam. In addition to being an investor, technologist, I've been an entrepreneur. I've started in many, small companies. I'm a stock investor, a renowned local author even. For example, if my name sounds familiar, you probably don't, but you might recognize me from one of my social media channels, one of which is TikTok featured as one of the best accounts. They featured it on their homepage, the entire country. And that, account's been watched more than 10 million times. So perhaps you listen to my podcast, The Sam Putnam Show, and it's featured guests like Adam Geffert, the third highest ranked day trader in the world on the most popular investing verification site. So you may even know me I previously spoke at Amazon on machine learning, deep learning, or my speeches at, Harvard University meetup groups at the university and Harvard Innovation Lab. Whatever the case, the reason that over 150,000 people from all walks of life follow me across all social media is simple. It's all due to my ability over the decades to spot massive trends, well, really half a decade to 1 decade, long before anyone else. I'm only 33, but for example, all the way back in 2014, when AI was first getting off the ground, I predicted that deep learning would soon take off and become the future. And by the way, this is how I met Finbar Timbers, who was an employee with, I believe, significant equity at Google DeepMind at the time. So that was 10 years ago. I'm sure he's worth a lot here. So just a few years later, my prediction played out exactly as I expected, with the rise of companies like OpenAI and Anthropic and on and on. Anyone who invested in OpenAI during its 2015 first round and held on until today is a 500-fold. So it's enough to turn $1,000 into $500,000 in 11 years. Then again, in 2018, this time, I made a prediction regarding TikTok, which was still just a tiny startup in 2019, 2020. A few months earlier in 2018, Facebook had been in negotiations to buy TikTok. And to the surprise of almost everyone, TikTok never negotiated their way to an offer. So most people thought at the time that ByteDance founder and CEO, ByteDance owns TikTok, why would he not sell out to Facebook? Was he just making a huge mistake? But once again, I saw what nobody else did. I personally joined TikTok as a dancer, a talker in 2020, and I announced thousands of dollars, thousands of followers a day. And my prediction was that TikTok would be worth $100 billion. And I went on TikTok every day during March and COVID, the same time I made that prediction, and everyone laughed at me. But within a matter of years, that's exactly what happened. TikTok just grew and grew and grew. And today, as you may know, TikTok is a giant company worth more than $400 billion. TikTok, again, actually had me featured on the homepage. And Charlie D'Amelio, who's the most famous person on TikTok, commented on my video, basically acknowledged that I'm right about this platform being huge. So look, it happened again in 2025. It's when I made an appearance on YouTube and I told people that rare earths were about to change the world. And back then, just 6 months ago, nobody had heard of these rare earth companies. And some were even calling, it a whole mining scam. And I had done research, I knew better. So I saw that the rare earth companies had the potential to reshape how we think about national security forever. So I told people that rare earths they are the future. Antimony was the crown jewel of US economic security, and said it was going to change the world back in August 2025 when it traded at just $5. So can you imagine how different your life might have been had you bought the ticker symbol UAMY all the way back in August 2025 and just held a few months into October when it traded at $18 from 5? So anyone who had done that and held on for those couple months with United States antimony well beyond $15 would be worth 3 or more times their money. And that's just scratching the surface of my history of accurate calls, many of which I've personally participated in. Now, I don't bring up these past predictions to brag. Instead, I show you this to make an important point. Just like all my previous predictions, I know most people are going to laugh and dismiss my message today. It's happened every single time, especially when I was talking about AI in 2014. They'll think that despite all my previous, foreshadowing, there's simply no way that Elon can pull a Starlink IPO. And sadly, because of that, people are going to get left behind by the chance to position themselves before what could be the biggest IPO in history. In fact, if you missed out on Netflix, Facebook, Bitcoin, don't worry, because this Starlink pre-IPO opportunity could be even bigger. What you're seeing today is, without a doubt, one of the biggest stories of the decade. And I say that with 100% certainty. The fact is, I believe Elon Starlink could be much bigger than any of his previous ventures. It could be bigger than PayPal, Tesla, or even X. It might even be bigger than all of them put together. After all, I believe Starlink is poised to permanently disrupt the $2.18 trillion telecom industry, potentially putting out all the big internet giants, putting all those telecom providers out of business, all while unlocking trillions of dollars of untapped economic potential. And simply put, the amount of money at stake here is nothing short of life-changing. And thanks to the play that I'm going to reveal to you for free, you have the first ever chance to act before the Starlink IPO. So what is this play and how can you take action? And also I want to add, why am I doing this video? I mentioned all my credentials before, but one thing I didn't necessarily mention is that while I've been, a professional, technologist the last 10 years ago, I've had a dual track. I've also liked writing about, finance recently. I've written for columns for the local newspaper as well, Medium, Substack, and my personal website. Some of it gets published, some of it doesn't. I was a regular contributor on X before I found YouTube. I've always wanted to build a community around myself for people who care about their financial freedom and their financial health, and they care about, not just theirs, but their family is, and they want to be well protected. They want their life to be good. And some of my writing has reached the masses and some hasn't. But I know people have anxiety about money. I've had anxiety before in my life. It's unpleasant, to say the least. Everybody's experienced it. And I want to help people avoid that. And I love building this community. It gives me great pleasure. And listen, this is, again, it's not like I make videos like this every day. And this is one of those key opportunities that are rare to find and rare to take advantage of. So what is this play? What is this free play that could take advantage of the Starlink IPO? And how can you take action? Well, I can guarantee the stock is unlike anything you've heard of or seen before. It was founded by one of the top private market experts in the country, a man who had a genius idea several years back. And that's when he realized that there was a massive unserved market when it comes to Main Street America and the red hot pre-IPO markets. Specifically, he realized that there was enormous demand for people to get into these pre-IPO companies, but they were locked out by law. In other words, they're unable to invest directly into them. So this man did something brilliant. He set up an investment fund called the Destiny Tech 100 and mandated that the fund invest exclusively in the fastest growing pre-IPO companies. He then took this investment fund public on the New York Stock Exchange under the ticker symbol DXYZ, meaning absolutely anyone could buy it inside their own account. And therein lies this opportunity. And the way it works, the Destiny Tech 100 fund holds stakes in not only Starlink, but also OpenAI, Epic Games, and all the world's other largest pre-IPO companies. In fact, 50% of the entire fund is invested into SpaceX, the parent company of Starlink. Of course, because the fund controls its holdings, they could choose to sell some of the Starlink positions, but I don't see why they would do that. And by purchasing shares in the Destiny Tech 100 fund, which trades under the ticker symbol DXYZ, you can claim a pre-IPO stake in Starlink, as well as all these other companies. And like OpenAI and SpaceX. And as Starlink, OpenAI and all its other holdings go public, which they will do over time, and they'll explode in value. Likely, shares of this fund, DXYZ, could skyrocket into the stratosphere. In fact, if Starlink goes public in 2026, as I expect, the fund might even use this IPO as an exit event, cashing out for its shareholders like you. And of course, not every company the fund holds will be a winner. Maybe they will be, but maybe they won't. Customers are shifting around. We saw it with the XAI acquisition of SpaceX, but some makes up for possible losses and some don't. But here's the thing, you're more than welcome to go out and buy DXYZ shares inside your brokerage account, and they'll almost certainly, do quite well. After all, as I walked you through today, Starlink is expected to be the single biggest IPO in history, staggering 228 times bigger than Amazon's 1997 IPO. And at the same time, with a red-hot IPO market, many of DXY's holdings like OpenAI and Epic Games stand to shoot through the roof. But as great as that is, if you do so, you might be leaving a lot of money on the table. That's because although you won't hear about it in the mainstream media, there is another side to the Starlink IPO story that's even 10x bigger. You see, Starlink is facing a major roadblock in its rollout that threatens to derail the entire company's operations. And to fix this, I'm predicting Elon will have no choice but to announce the buyout of one obscure tech play for tens of billions of dollars. And investors who position themselves in this tech company before Elon buys it out will have the chance at amassing a staggering wealth potential. Let me explain. According to Elon himself, Starlink faces a huge hurdle, one he needs to overcome in order for the company to reach its true potential. That hurdle all has to do with Starlink's lack of direct device connectivity. See, as of today, here's what happens. Starlink's technology works like this. The satellites in space beam internet service down to a Starlink terminal, and that terminal then transmits the lightning fast speeds to your device. I know all this. I've seen it set up. In other words, as of today, using and connecting to Starlink requires carrying around a bulky terminal wherever you go. Now, of course, if you're just providing internet service for your home, you don't have to do that. But for using it, remote, which a lot of people want to do, it's not practical. And needless to say, it's not going to be sufficient for most people. Meaning, Starlink and its rollout have been hampered by this shortcoming, which is why Elon has bet the entire future of his company on direct-to-device connections, even going so far to say it's a major game changer that will be essential going forward. And this is from a guy where everything he does seems like a major game changer, but he's identifying this opportunity as the major game changer. And that's where this obscure tech play comes in, which I expect Elon needs to buy out for tens of billions of dollars. This brilliant company that I'm talking about has pioneered a radical workaround, which involves the new satellites. In short, they've developed a satellite technology which creates an entire cell tower in space. So unlike Starlink satellites that transmit service down to a terminal, which then delivers internet to your device, this company has simplified the process entirely. And guess what? It's cut out the terminal. Instead, their satellite serves as a cell tower itself, which you don't have to look at, which beams internet directly to you and your devices. And like any ordinary cell tower on the ground does, that's how it works. And because this small tech play owns a patent 9973266, they're the only company in the world that can use this technology, the only one. And it's an amazing technology, which is why what happens next is pretty clear. Since they're fully protected by this patent, I expect Elon has no choice but to buy this company out for tens of billions of dollars in order to integrate its patented direct-to-device technology. And that's why I'm urging you to position yourself right away. This is, of course, DXYZ, is a great pick. You'll do fine. But this is the way to really win, because I expect this buyout will be announced before the Starlink IPO takes place. And this is the benefit of constantly researching these types of technologies. And it's one thing to invest in the top headline plays. It's another to find the nuances, the backdoor plays that are going to benefit even greater. In fact, I believe this company, this small tech play that owns this patent, is the missing piece that Elon needs. And with the IPO expected to be announced soon, the time to act, of course, is sooner rather than later. It's now, rather than later. So to recap, as I learned from my own research of the purported contact who attended this meeting, Elon Musk has developed the biggest internet breakthrough ever called Starlink. And according to my research, he's set to announce his plans to take this company called Starlink public in an upcoming IPO on Thursday, March 26, 2026. That date is when the largest and the most important industry event known as SAT show will take place, where all the top industry insiders, investors, even NASA government officials, they all gather together. And if Elon attends, as I speculate, this elite meeting makes it the perfect place to announce to the world that he's spinning off Starlink from SpaceX, which he's not taking public. But that's not all. As he makes the IPO announcement, I'm predicting Elon will announce this multi-billion-dollar buyout that I've told you about at this very event. And of course, as I mentioned, you can go out and buy the company, Destiny Tech 100 Inc., ticker is DXYZ, which gives you pre-IPO exposure to Starlink and other companies. But I believe the biggest gains of all stand to be made in this obscure tech play that I predict Elon will buy out for tens of billions of dollars. As I showed you, this acquisition is the only roadblock that I believe is holding Starlink back from its IPO. For that reason, I predict the deal will be unveiled at this event alongside Starlink's IPO announcement, which is why I'm urging you to act right away. Because if you're not in by the time the deal is announced, of course, you'll be too late, and the biggest windfall profits will have already been made. This is what we're always trying to avoid, is to get it before it goes in the headlines. It's no longer a good investment then. Trust me, that's why it makes it to make it as easy as possible for you. I've put all these details of this company along into my research. It's a special, report. It's called Elon's Big Buy, the #1 Starlink IPO stock to buy now. And it makes a lot of sense to show you everything you need to get started right away. The company name, the ticker symbol, how to buy shares today, and much, much more. So, and because you've made it this far, I really want to rush this report to your email ready for immediate download. So here's the best part. During my time as a technologist, my time as a social media, serious adopter, my time as an investor and entrepreneur, brands would routinely offer me deals, hundreds of times to promote their products, all different types of products. And considering the results I delivered over the years, they're more than happy to offer these opportunities. And because of that, I could easily charge thousands of dollars for this research in this, community I have, the stocks community, where we talk about the #1 Starlink IPO stock to buy now. We talk about a lot of stocks. If my prediction comes true, the information inside this Starlink, report could potentially be worth millions of dollars to the right investor when the potential buyout news breaks. But I don't want you to pay a cent for this information. Instead, I want to get this research into your hands for nearly free today. To claim it, all I ask is that you take a risk-free $25 7-day trial to my monthly research advisory called the Stocks Community. See, every month I track down the biggest new investment megatrends like Starlink and its upcoming IPO, opportunities that my research shows have potential to hand early investors huge wealth. And then I share them with my community members in the Discord community in a live stream. And remember, I've been following technology for over 10 years. Alongside being a professional investor, as I said earlier, I've really made it my life's mission to level the playing field. I'm an engineer by training, which is why I've written all these pieces of information about technology investing and spoke at Amazon, Harvard, MIT. These are meetup groups, but still, I love doing this. I love building that community of people who are interested in financial freedom. And meetup people are pretty smart, actually. And quite frankly, there's no other resource like this in the world. And it's all due to my extensive Rolodex, which nobody in the world has this type of background. As a reader of Stocks Community, you'll always have the complete inside scoop. So imagine being in the room with the world's smartest scientists, discovering the world-changing breakthroughs they're working on as they're working on them. Imagine having access to the world's top tech insiders, being as close to them as possible, discovering how to invest in the biggest new innovations before they change the world. I worked at a government lab at one point. So imagine knowing about the biggest technology breakthroughs long before your friends, family, or anyone else ever hears about them. Now, imagine, and this is the key part, of course, how much money you could make if you had access to this kind of information every single month. That's what's inside my brain. And as a member of Stocks Community, you'll have exactly that. So how much does access to Stocks Community cost? I think you're going to like the answer. It's only a tiny fraction of what you would imagine. More on that in just a moment. But first, let me give you a closer look at everything you're going to receive starting as soon as you join me today. Here's everything you'll receive instantly today. Trade of the day, every day in the Discord. Each trade in the stocks community covers a big investment mega trend and shows you how to profit live every morning, 9:30 a.m. To proprietary screeners available for download to Discord members. Also, the drop in market analysis every weekday, and also a tech support checklist. If a company has a bad quarter, I'll show you everything you need to know. That way, there's never any guesswork, and you're not going to be bagholding. You'll always know what's going on. You get urgent trading alerts. Whenever it's time to make a move in the markets, I'll share this video in the community showing you what to do and why. If a company we hold shooting up and it's time to cash out our gains, you'll see that in the video showing you how to take profits. If an urgent opportunity crosses my desk, my computer, I'll send you a video showing you how to take action. These videos occur every weekday. So whatever the case, you're never alone in this venture. So access to the special members only Discord. Immediately after joining, you'll also receive this login to this members only WAP group. WAP is a payment processor where it does live streams as well. And you can look back at all the previous recordings and trades of the day I've sent. You can watch all those previous market analysis live streams. You can track the trade of the day in real time as I enter it in that live stream. And this is my favorite part. You get these daily Q&A calls Monday through Friday. So every weekday, I host a private Q&A call where I share with you exactly the stocks I'm researching, how to get positioned, where the biggest profit potential is, what I'm personally excited about. And I answer any questions I see being asked in the Discord. So you'll be invited to listen in on these weekday calls immediately after joining today. Everything you receive is designed to put you in front of the biggest investment stories long before anyone else. So you'll always have what I consider the inside scoop before everybody else delivered it to you in plain, simple, immediately actionable alerts. And alongside that, you'll also receive my complete research and analysis, breaking down everything. That way, everything's made as easy as possible for you. And because my mission with this research is to help both experienced and first-time investors alike, again, I make it as simple as possible to understand. So how much is a subscription to SaaS Community? Well, don't forget, it is a premium research service. I work across engineering, social media. It's followed by people at family offices, investment firms, big tech companies, and others, as well as over 150,000 Main Street Americans across the country have learned from me. All this, they follow me to get access to the latest trends long before everyone else. And you can join the founding members of my Discord community starting just minutes from now, and it's at a fair price. So just listen to one of my happiest members, what he has to say. So one member, Neil, he wrote in to say that he loved my analysis on all sectors of the market. And thanks to my advice, he was able to make $30,000 just from one of my videos he watched on YouTube. He implied he's planning to retire, soon due to working on growing a small inheritance from his dad. And he's made a lot of money by following my work. And in his case, Neil was able to make $16,000 in a day thanks to my research. He said that just a single recommendation of mine was able to pay for, my $250 subscription many times over. In fact, he said he bought Intel and made $4,000, then $2,000 on a quantum computing stock. So Neil got exceptional results in the community, but this is just a few of the hundreds of comments. More of my thankful YouTube viewers have left me. And keep in mind, if you were to hire someone as a money manager, you pay tens, even hundreds of thousands of dollars, often for market lagging performance. In fact, the Financial Post reports that the average money manager struggles to even beat the market's performance of about 7% per year on average. Now compare that with the performance of my community members who have seen the chance to make 2x, 3x, even 7x their money over just a few years. Even if you start with just a small amount of money, you could see how to grow it into a fortune over time. Just like many of my community members have already had the chance to see. Now, for that reason, a price tag of over $1,000 or more to access stocks community would be a steal. After all, just look at a few of the top recommendations I've issued in recent years. For example, back in August 2025, the rare earth company MP Materials was little known and wasn't on most people's radar. That's when I sent an alert to all of my readers, urging them to take a look, buy. As I told my readers in a YouTube video, the US government had taken a stake in MP Materials, and I expected the stock to go up significantly higher from here. So I told my readers to buy MP materials, and I gave them specific instructions on how to do so that isn't financial advice. Back when this obscure crypto traded at just around $60. In October, the same stock traded above $100, enough to turn $6,200 into $10,000. Or here's another recommendation I issued in 2025, this time for a technology company called Amprius Technologies. At the time, very few people knew about the company, and it certainly wasn't being talked about in the mainstream media, but my analysis of the company showed it had a world-class suite of products. It's growing rapidly and had the potential for enormous growth. So I sent my community members another buy alert detailing what the company was and why it was such a great opportunity. At the time, ticker symbol AMPX traded for just around $8. By early October, reached a high of nearly $16. And just like MT Materials, I'm keeping an eye on this stock, and I expect the biggest moves and profits are yet to come. And that's not all. Just look at another stock I told our members to buy, an energy company called Bloom Energy, ticker symbol BE. When I recommended the stock just a few months ago in August 2025, as the data center boom was just getting its start, Bloom Energy shares traded for less than $50. Within 3 months or so, the same shares went to nearly $150, close to a threefold return in just over a quarter. Members could have closed that trade out for a 204% profit after around 60, 70 days. And I could go on and on and on. These examples are just scratching the surface. The point I'm trying to make is that I've established a community of like-minded investors inside stocks community. And this has been like my dream. And my readers have consistently had the chance to get incredible profits over the years by getting ahead of major stories before anyone else. In fact, anyone who's followed my work over the years or here on YouTube has seen the chance to outperform the market and grow their wealth safely. I even have a free newsletter at free.stockscommunity.com. And here's the best part of all. Despite what you might expect when you respond to me today, you won't pay anywhere near $1,000. You're not going to pay $750 either. You're not going to pay $500. In fact, ordinarily, I price a week of access to Stocks Community, 7 days, right, at just $65. That works out to, I think, around $10 a day, right? Which is less than the price of lunch these days. But I know that thanks to the expected Starlink IPO, the profit potential in front of you right now is life-changing. It's honestly, this is simply too important to miss out on. And I also know that for those who get in now, before this multi-billion-dollar buyout is announced, life might never be the same again. Which is why, when you respond today, I can do much better than the 1 week price of $65 for you. Through this special offer that I've arranged, you'll pay just a small fraction of the regular $65 retail price. In fact, when you act today, you can join Stocks Community for a full week for just $25. It's a tiny price to pay for everything you're going to receive. Within minutes of joining, everything we discussed will be sent to your email, including recent recordings of Q&A calls. You'll be able to read through my market analysis and take action right away. But if this is so good, why am I practically giving it away at this price? Well, the truth is I want you to do really well. I only make money, when people stick around the community for the long term. That means giving you superior research and insights you're so thrilled with, you'll decide to stay with me month after month, year after year. Additionally, I know that once you try Stocks Community out and see for yourself the unmatched profit potential it delivers, you'll want to stick around for good. And that's why I'm making access to Stocks Community so affordable for you today. And that's why I'm adding one last clincher to seal the deal for you. Just try Stocks Community, risk-free on YouTube. I get it. I know this may be the first time you and I have met, so odds are you still may be skeptical. You may even heard similar promises before that have never worked out. So hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and watch for future videos. So it's only fair, you take a look at my work 100% risk-free here on YouTube. I want you to take a look, decide for yourself whether or not this is right for you. So here's what I propose. Try Stocks Community risk-free for as long as you like here on YouTube. And if you don't agree that, you don't find this kind of profit potential anywhere else and, my YouTube ideas, call me or email me and let me know. I'll adjust my videos accordingly. And everything that I promised you here today, is still yours to try out when you're ready. I mean, the ticker, TXYZ, but keep watching the videos no matter what. I'm sure you can read that's a fair deal. I also told you about the free newsletter at free.stockscommunity.com. So with that said, I hope you're ready to get started. And if you are, click that link in the description below you see right here and By the way, clicking does not obligate you to anything. There's another free training on that link. That window will have a page where you can review this 7-day trial offer again. And as you saw, I believe Elon Musk is preparing to announce the biggest IPO in history for his company, Starlink. And I showed you the best examples of the rare opportunities that come around when the internet takes a massive step forward. We saw AOL score an incredible 81,000% in just 7 years. We also watched as Earthlink skyrocketed 6,000% in only 3 years, and as Comcast catapulted 46,000% between 1980 and 2017. But I believe this could happen again, only this time in a much bigger way, as Elon Musk announces the Starlink IPO. And even better, as I mentioned, you can go out and buy DXYZ shares in order to gain pre-IPO exposure to Starlink. If you do so, I'm confident you can do quite well for yourself. But by far, this is really the key. This is why I wanted to get this video out to you. The meat and potatoes is in the community. The biggest profit potential will be found in not only this tiny company that I predict Elon will soon buy out for tens of billions of dollars, but also the entry criteria for how to buy these stocks and when to buy them. So this company, though, it's essential to his plans for Starlink's rollout. Remember, this is one where Elon is like, he's seeing this game changer going directly from space right to the device, and they only this company has the patent for it. So I expect anyone who buys shares in this company before this happens will see the chance at life-changing profit potential. So listen, timing is important. I'm sure that this Starlink IPO announcement is happening very soon, particularly if it's going to happen, particularly if the actual IPO is going to happen in early, mid-2026. He has to announce it way in advance. So this is, again, one of those opportunities that are rare. I really want to get this out to you. I really want you to try out the community, which is why I put together this risk-free opportunity with the daily videos on the YouTube channel and the 7-day $25 trial for the community. It's non-refundable, but it's pretty cheap. So just click the link below, try it, no obligation, one-click cancel. And if you've made it this far, you clearly recognize that Starlink will be one of the biggest internet disruptors of our lifetime, and I hope you stay on for the monthly service. I believe that Starlink could change the world for anyone who receives internet access. This is one of those rare moments in history. This could put giants like Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile out of business and ignite one of the greatest periods of innovation in the 21st century. The stakes truly couldn't be any higher, and thanks to Elon's big buyout, which I'm predicting savvy investors stand to make tens of billions of dollars in windfall profits, this offer is the best I could possibly make it. But of course, you must act today. So with that, just click down below. It just gets you started. 7 days. If you've seen, this is one of the biggest market stories of my career, and I don't want anybody to miss it. I'm predicting Starlink's IPO could be announced at this upcoming major industry event. And while, DXYZ shares stand to soar in the news, the real profit potential, the one I'm most excited about, will be found in the company that I believe Elon could soon buy out for tens of billions of dollars. The company which you'll get the deets on inside the community. The report, Elon's big buyout, the #1 Starlink IPO stock to buy now, is relatively straightforward. Once again, I expect the buyout will be revealed at this event just before Elon announces the IPO. That means you may only have a small window left to position yourself in this ticker before the announcement is made. And there's also DXYZ, but this ticker could be big. So trust me, a couple months from now, you could kick yourself if you put this off. If you missed out on Elon's previous breakthroughs like PayPal, which went from a tiny off-the-radar startup to a massive $64 billion giant today, or Tesla, which is up an incredible 26,000% and counting since 2010, you won't want to miss this. It's your chance to set yourself up on the ground floor before everyone catches on to Starlink's IPO. I can guarantee you, no one is reading this patent right now, but everyone's going to be looking for things like this after the IPO is announced. So with that said, all that's left to do, it's just simple. So just go ahead, click join, click the link down below to get started, and I'll see you on the inside of the community. If you're still here, know that you might have a few questions that you want answered before getting started. So let me quickly address those questions now. Question #1, what is stocks community? How does it work? Well, leveraging my over, decade long now, leveraging my inside network of traders, former hedge fund employees, and other top, Ivy League insiders, I tracked down the biggest, most revolutionary new megatrends before anyone else. Things like rare earth stocks, AI, energy, quantum computing, many more. Then I find the companies pioneering the new megatrend and share them with the private community members in stocks communities, Discord, and WAP livestream. Stocks community is the only place in the entire world where I recommend also often tiny stocks that my research indicates that the potential to target 1,000% plus over time. So every weekday, I will send you a new trade and a market analysis video talking in simple, easy to understand language, detailing the biggest opportunity I'm looking at now and showing you how to get a piece of it. Plus, I even show you how to take the buy or sell action inside your own account. So it's really that simple. As I mentioned, it doesn't matter if you're a complete beginner or if you've been investing for years. It doesn't matter if you have $500 to start or $500,000 inside stocks community. I will show you how to book huge gains from the biggest world-changing breakthrough. I bring you my best new ideas every day, weekday really. You simply read through my work and decide if you want to invest in the company I'm telling you about. Take Saturdays and Sundays off. And again, of course, there's that free info that I'm giving, the free info about this Starlink stock, but every weekday in the trade of the day, there's going to be ideas like this. And question number 2 is, what will I receive when I join, right? For starters, as a member of Stocks Community, you'll receive, 5 business days, market days of access during the 7-day trial. So you're going to get 5 daily drop-in market analysis with the urgent trade of the day alerts, the special Discord community, access to my best new ideas, daily 15-minute Q&A calls in the WAP Live whenever I discover a new technology that's promised to change our world and I show how to enter that stock. I'll alert you and show you how to play it in the actual markets in real time. And that's just the beginning. Within minutes of joining today, you'll get the urgent info I promised, that Elon's big buyout, the number 1 Starlink IPO stock to buy when you reach out to me and let me know in the WAP messages that you joined the community. It's a $25 trial, so you can get started with everything immediately. Question number 3, how much money could I make from this? Well, that's a great question. And if history is any guide, the amount of money you could have the chance at from this situation is nothing short of life-changing. I showed you the best examples I could find of the rare moonshot opportunities that have come about every time the internet takes a massive step forward. And with perfect timing, we saw AOL score 81,000% in 7 years. We also saw Earthlink skyrocketed 6,000% in just 3 years. And Comcast catapulted more than 46,000% between 1980 and 2017. I believe it will happen again, even in a bigger disruption led by the world's richest man himself, Elon Musk. And plus, for reasons you saw, Starlink could even be bigger than any of these companies over time. And by acting now, you could turn just one small stake into incredible wealth by getting in before Elon's potential buyout is announced. And best of all, it couldn't be any easier to take action. You get all the details on how to get started when you click the link below. I actually have a 10-15 minute training on how I pick stocks. So question number 4, is your ordering process secure? I'll tell you, this is very important to me. We use WAP. We have used the latest encryption technology available to ensure it's 100% protected through the order process. WAP is a lot like Stripe. The entire process is fast, safe, completely secure. I made sure of it. So question number 5, what if I decide this isn't right for me? It's no problem. As they say though, nothing ventured, nothing gained. But if you decide at any point in the next few months that I don't know, my work just isn't right for you, just call me up or email me. Just let me know. I'll cancel your subscription manually. I'll even send you a report on the 6 best stocks to own in 2026 as a courtesy. And again, as I said, you get that trial for 7 days, so you might want to give this a try. So that's what I propose. So go ahead, click the link below, check my research out for yourself. I really do have nothing to lose by doing this, and I believe everything to gain. Question number 6. This all sounds too good to be true. What's the catch? It's also a very good question, right? The mark of a smart investor is skepticism and asking questions. I'm not surprised if you're wondering this. The only catch is that you really should position yourself now for your best shot. If you wait until after a potential buyout announcement is made, you'll be too late, and they'll be talking about this on CNBC. So click the link below and you'll get started. Question number 7, if I have any questions, can I speak to someone? Absolutely. If you have any questions about your subscription, you can DM me in the Discord or on WAP and let them know. I'm also, my phone number and email is available. Very easy to find. So I don't want everyone calling me, but just keep in mind, I'm not able to offer any personalized financial advice, and it does have a 1-click to cancel. It's very easy to do in WAP. So question, how quickly do you get everything? Well, instantly. You join Stocks Community. You'll find an email in your inbox from me. Open it. I think this is question number 8. So once inside the community, you'll find the daily trade ideas we discussed. You get the recording from the day, and DM me on WAP or Discord for info about Elon's big buyout, the #1 Starlink IPO stock to buy now. And I can explain exactly that and immediately the opportunities to take advantage of this. So be able to chat, discuss, take action for your future, ask questions all within just a few minutes. Additionally, you'll also find, this is really important, you'll find that once you create a Discord login, you can access the special members stocks community live stream in the courses tab, where you'll be able to view all the past videos, all the past trades of the day, and you'll be able to check out that full video library. But the key is you take action on the Starlink IPO stock idea as quickly as possible. We don't want an IPO being announced and that being when you first hear about it. So go ahead and click that link below to get started. Take your time to decide if you need to. You can still click that link as long as you remain on this page. Thanks for your time today. I really look forward to welcoming you inside Stocks community just moments from now. And if you're just seeing this recording, I'll see you on the next YouTube Live. Like this video, subscribe, and click that link below to sign up for that $25 7-day trial. Look forward to seeing you in the community.